The trading station called Nexus 7 floated in the darkness between stars. It was old. It was ugly. It was home to nearly 50,000 beings from dozens of different species. They came here to trade, to hide, to start new lives far from the laws and wars of the inner galaxy. Nexus 7 had one rule: pay your taxes to the Vethric Dominion, and you would be left alone. The Vethric were not kind masters. They were tall, scaled creatures with forearms and eyes like black glass. They had conquered this region of space 300 years ago, and they ruled it through simple methods. Obey, and you lived. Disobey, and your world burned from orbit. No one disobeyed. Kira Sen worked in the communications center of Nexus 7. She was a Miralan, a small species with gray skin and large eyes that could see in almost complete darkness. Her job was simple. She monitored the space around the station. She logged ships coming and going. She reported anything unusual to the Vethric garrison commander. It was boring work, safe work. Kira liked it that way. The day everything changed started like any other. Kira arrived at her station, checked her equipment, and began scanning the nearby systems. Cargo ships moved through the trade lanes. Mining vessels crawled toward the asteroid belts. Everything was normal. Then the distress beacon appeared. It came from a system 2 jumps away. The signal was weak, broken, repeating the same message over and over. Kira cleaned up the audio and listened. This is the civilian freighter Gentle Passage. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Raiders have disabled our engines. We have 47 souls on board, including 12 children. Please, anyone, help us. They're cutting through the hull. The message ended in static. Kira checked the ship registry. The Gentle Passage was a human vessel, a family transport, carrying colonists to a new settlement on the Outer Rim. Humans were relative newcomers to galactic society. They had only been among the stars for about 200 years. Most species considered them unimportant, weak, a minor species that would either be conquered or fade away within a few centuries. Kira felt sorry for the people on that ship, but there was nothing she could do. The Vethric would not send help. Raiders operated freely in Dominion space, as long as they paid their share to the garrison commanders. She logged the distress call and went back to her normal duties. 3 hours later, everything changed. A new signal cut through every frequency on the station. It overrode all other communications. It appeared on every screen, every speaker, every personal device. The message was short, spoken in a calm human voice, and translated automatically into every known language. This is the Terran Navy vessel HSS Prometheus. We have received the distress call from the civilian freighter Gentle Passage. We are en route to your location. All non-combatants are advised to evacuate the area. Repeat, all non-combatants are advised to evacuate. We will arrive in 6 hours. The message ended. Kira stared at her screen. A human warship was coming here. One ship against the Vethric garrison. She pulled up the station's military files. The Vethric had 3 destroyer squadrons stationed at Nexus 7. That was 9 warships, each one capable of burning a city from orbit. They also had an orbital defense fortress, armed with weapons that could crack the crust of a small moon. One human ship against all of that. Kira almost laughed. The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Her supervisor, a Vethric officer named Korth, appeared behind her. He had heard the message too. His scaled face twisted into something that might have been amusement. One ship, he said. The humans send one ship. They must want to die. Should I alert the garrison commander? Kira asked. Yes, he will enjoy this. We have not had good sport in months. Kira sent the message to Commander Voss. She expected him to share Korth's amusement. Instead, she received an immediate response. All stations were ordered to battle readiness. All civilian traffic was halted. The destroyer squadrons were to form up and move to intercept the incoming ship. Kira frowned. That seemed like a lot of preparation for one enemy vessel. Over the next hour, something strange began to happen on the station. The older species, the ones who had been traveling the stars for thousands of years, began to leave. They canceled their trading contracts. They loaded their ships with everything they could carry. They fled toward the outer jump points, heading anywhere that was not here. Kira watched them go. She saw fear in their eyes, real fear, not the careful, controlled fear that everyone felt around the Vethruk. This was something deeper, something primal. She stopped an elderly trader as he rushed past the communications center. He was a Corvani, a species known for their wisdom and their long memories. His name was Merchant Elder Solus, and he had been trading at Nexus 7 for over a century. "Where are you going?" Kira asked. "It's just one human ship. The Vethruk will destroy it." Solus looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. "Child, how old are you?" "I am 43 cycles, so young. You do not remember the contact wars. You do not know what the humans did to the Kesari Confederation. When the Kesari attacked one of their colony ships," he shook his head. "The Kesari were a great power. They had 500 warships and 100 conquered worlds. They thought the humans would be easy prey. What happened? The Kesari do not exist anymore. Their worlds are ash. Their species is scattered across the galaxy as refugees. And the humans did it in less than 10 years. Solus gripped her arm. "That message was not a warning for us, child. It was a warning for the Vethruk. The humans are giving them a chance to run. They will not take it. And everyone who stays here will see what happens next." He pulled away and hurried toward the docking bays. Kira stood frozen in the corridor. She had never heard of the contact wars. She had never heard of the Kesari Confederation. But she knew fear when she saw it. And Solus, who had lived for centuries and seen empires rise and fall, was terrified. She returned to her station and began searching the historical archives. The records were incomplete. Many files had been deleted or corrupted. But she found enough. The Kesari had been an empire much like the Vethruk. They had ruled through fear and violence. They had attacked a human colony ship, killing everyone on board. The humans had sent demands for justice. The Kesari had laughed. Then the human ships came. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They were not elegant like other species' warships. They were ugly, brutal things, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. They did not fight with grace or skill. They fought with overwhelming force and absolute determination. They took losses that would have broken any other species. They kept coming anyway. The war lasted 9 years. At the end of it, the Kesari homeworld was a radioactive ruin. Their fleet was destroyed. Their colonies were liberated or abandoned. A species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia simply ceased to exist as a power. And then the humans had gone back to their colonies and their trade routes. They had not conquered anyone. They had not built an empire. They had simply removed a threat and returned to their lives. Kira understood now why the old ones were running. She looked at the tactical display. The Vethruk destroyers were moving into formation. The orbital fortress was powering up its main weapons. Commander Voss was preparing for battle. One human ship against all of that. She thought about the distress call from the Gentle Passage. 47 people. 12 children. Just ordinary colonists, trying to build a new life on a distant world. The humans were coming for them. One ship against an empire, because their people had been taken. Kira made a decision. She stood up from her station and walked toward the docking bays. Behind her, she could hear Korth shouting, demanding to know where she was going. She ignored him. She was going to find a ship, any ship. She was going to leave this station before the Prometheus arrived. Because she had read the histories. She had seen the records of what human battleships could do. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that the Vethruk were about to learn a lesson that the galaxy had learned long ago. When humans sent a battleship, it was not a threat. It was a promise, and nothing would stop them from keeping it. The long-range sensors detected the Prometheus dropping out of faster-than-light travel. At the edge of the system, it was alone, just as the message had said. One ship against 9 destroyers and an orbital fortress. The Vethruk fleet moved to intercept, confident in their numbers. They had no idea what was coming. Commander Voss stood on the bridge of the orbital fortress, watching the tactical display with cold satisfaction. The human ship had arrived exactly when they said it would. One vessel, alone, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of his system. He had to admire their stupidity. Voss was old for a Vethruk. He had served the Dominion for over 100 years. He had burned worlds. He had crushed rebellions. He had seen species bow before the might of the Dominion, begging for mercy that never came. He knew war, He knew death. He knew how to break the will of any enemy. And now a single human ship thought it could challenge him. Report. He ordered. His tactical officer studied the sensor data. The vessel is large, Commander. Much larger than standard human military ships. It appears to be what the humans call a battleship. Hull composition is unusual. Heavy armor plating across all surfaces. Weapon systems are difficult to identify. But we are detecting multiple launch bays and what appear to be magnetic accelerator cannons. Speed. Slow, Commander. Very slow compared to our destroyers. It appears the humans have sacrificed speed for armor and firepower. Voss smiled. A slow target was an easy target. His destroyers would circle the human ship like predators around wounded prey. They would tear it apart piece by piece while the clumsy human vessel tried to turn. And fight. Open a communication channel, he ordered. I want to speak to their captain. The screen flickered, and then a human face appeared. Voss studied the creature with interest. Humans were strange-looking things. Soft skin, small eyes, and fragile bodies that could be broken with a single blow from a Vethric warrior. This one was female, with dark hair pulled back tight and a face that showed no expression at all. I am Commander Voss of the Vethric Dominion, he announced. You have entered our territory without permission. You will surrender your ship immediately, or you will be destroyed. The human female did not seem impressed. She spoke in a calm, measured voice. I am Rear Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Terran Navy. I am here in response to a distress call from the civilian freighter Gentle Passage. I have one question for you, Commander. Voss laughed. You are in no position to ask questions, human. I will ask anyway. Are there survivors from the Gentle Passage? Voss considered lying, but there was no point. The humans would discover the truth soon enough. When their ship was debris and their crew was in chains, there are survivors, he admitted. 17 humans were taken alive. Some have already been sold to labor camps in the inner territories. Others are being held here at Nexus 7 for ransom. The rest were killed during the boarding action. The weak ones always die first. He expected anger. He expected threats. He expected the human to rage and scream at him. Instead, the woman simply nodded. Thank you for your honesty, Commander. I appreciate that. You appreciate it. Voss felt a flicker of confusion. This was not how enemies behaved. Yes, it tells me that you are not entirely without honor. The human paused. You have 30 minutes to release all prisoners, human and otherwise, and power down your weapons. This is not a negotiation. This is not a request. You have 30 minutes. Voss stared at her. For a moment, he was too surprised to respond. Then the rage came. You dare threaten me? You come here with one ship, one pathetic vessel, and you dare to give orders to a commander of the Dominion? He slammed his fist against the arm of his chair. I have 9 destroyers and an orbital fortress. I have enough firepower to crack a moon. And you tell me what to do. 29 minutes. The human said calmly. Voss cut the communication channel. His scales were flushed with anger, his forearms trembling with rage. No one spoke to him like that. No one. All ships, he ordered. Attack formation. Destroy that vessel. Leave nothing but ash. The 9 Vethric destroyers accelerated toward the Prometheus. They were beautiful ships, sleek and fast, designed for quick strikes and rapid retreats. Their weapons were precise and deadly. They had destroyed hundreds of enemy vessels over the centuries. The Prometheus did not try to run. It did not try to maneuver. It accelerated directly toward the Vethric formation. Voss watched the tactical display with growing unease. The human ship was not behaving like a normal enemy. Normal enemies tried to use distance and speed to their advantage. Normal enemies tried to avoid being surrounded. This ship was flying straight into the heart of his fleet. They must be mad, his tactical officer said. Or they have a plan we do not understand, Voss replied. He remembered the stories he had heard about humans. Stories from the old wars, from the time before the Dominion claimed this region. Stories about a species that did not know when to stop fighting. He pushed the thoughts aside. Stories were just stories. Numbers were real. And the numbers said that one ship could not defeat 10. The first destroyer reached weapons range. Its captain, a young Vethric named Torek, was eager for glory. He opened fire with everything his ship had. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, energy beams that could cut through starship armor like a knife through flesh. The shots hit the Prometheus dead center. Voss watched the sensors, waiting for the human ship to break apart, waiting for the explosions and the debris. The Prometheus kept coming. Its armor glowed red from the heat of the plasma impacts. Sections of its outer hull melted and fell away. But the ship itself did not slow down. It did not change course. It simply absorbed the punishment and kept moving forward. Impossible. The tactical officer whispered. Voss said nothing. He was watching the human ship's weapon systems. They were powering up. Something was happening along the front of the vessel. Something that made his sensors scream with warnings. The Prometheus fired a single shot from its main cannon. A projectile accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light, carrying more kinetic energy than a nuclear warhead. The shot hit Torok's destroyer in the center of its hull. The ship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment it was an expanding cloud of metal fragments and frozen atmosphere. Voss felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he ordered. Do not let that thing get a clear shot. Circle it, hit it from all sides. Wear it down. The remaining destroyers spread out, trying to surround the Prometheus. They fired constantly, pouring energy and missiles into the human ship. The Prometheus took hit after hit. Its hull was scarred and burning. Atmosphere vented from a dozen breaches, but it would not die. And it was not alone in its attacks. Secondary weapons began firing. Rail guns that sent streams of metal projectiles into the Vethric ships. Missile swarms that overwhelmed point defense systems. Close-range plasma weapons that activated when the destroyers got too close. A second destroyer died. Then a third. The Vethric were not winning. They were being slaughtered. Voss watched his fleet fall apart. 4 destroyers left. Then 3. The Prometheus was damaged, badly damaged, but it was still moving, still fighting, still coming. Commander, his tactical officer said, his voice shaking. The human ship is on an intercept course. It is heading directly for the fortress. Voss looked at the tactical display. The Prometheus was ignoring the remaining destroyers. It had taken their best shots and survived. Now it was coming for him. He thought about running. He thought about fleeing to the inner territories and reporting this disaster to the Dominion High Command. But he knew what would happen if he did. The Dominion did not forgive failure. He would be executed for cowardice. Better to die fighting. All remaining ships, form up on the fortress, he ordered. Focus all fire on that vessel. Everything we have. Do not stop firing until it is destroyed. The 3 surviving destroyers joined their weapons with the fortress. A storm of fire and energy poured toward the Prometheus. The human ship's armor finally began to fail. Whole sections of hull broke away. Internal explosions sent debris spinning into space. The ship was dying. It had to be dying, but it would not stop. It was close now. Close enough for Voss to see it through the fortress viewport. A massive, ugly thing, covered in scars and burns and broken armor. It should have been dead 100 times over. Any other ship in the galaxy would have been destroyed long ago. The Prometheus reached optimal firing range. Its main cannon, somehow still functional, powered up one last time. No, Voss whispered. The cannon fired. The shot hit the fortress at its center of mass. The station shuddered. Alarms screamed. The structure began to break apart, massive sections falling away into space. Voss had one last thought before the explosion took him. The humans had tried to warn him. He should have listened. On the surface of the station, Kira Sen watched the battle through a viewport. She had failed to find a ship. All the vessels had already fled. She was trapped on Nexus 7, waiting to see who would win. When the orbital fortress exploded, she felt the station shake beneath her feet. Through the viewport, she could see the remains of the Vethric fleet. 3 destroyers, damaged and drifting. 9 ships had faced the Prometheus. 6 were gone completely. The survivors were running. And the human battleship, broken and burning, was still there. A transmission appeared on every screen in the station. The same human face as before. Rear Admiral Tanaka. She looked tired. There was blood on her forehead. But her voice was still calm. This is the HSS Prometheus. We are boarding the station to retrieve prisoners. Any species not affiliated with the Vethric Dominion has nothing to fear from us. Remain calm and stay away from the docking bays." Kira watched the battleship move slowly toward the station. Shuttles began launching from its damaged hull. Dozens of them, heading for the docking ports. The humans were coming, and nothing was going to stop them. The first shuttle docked at the station's main port. The airlock hissed open, and the human Marines stepped through. Kira watched from the shadows of a cargo bay. She had found a hiding place near the docking area, not because she feared the humans, but because she wanted to see them. She wanted to understand what kind of creatures could send one ship against an empire and win. The Marines were not what she expected. They wore heavy armor, thick plates of metal, and composite material that covered them from head to toe. They moved slowly, carefully, each step making the floor shake beneath their weight. They carried weapons that looked crude but deadly, simple designs that seemed built to break things rather than wound them. But it was their faces that surprised her. Through their helmet visors, Kira could see their eyes. She expected to see rage, hatred, the burning desire for revenge that she had seen in so many conquerors over the years. Instead, she saw something else: focus, discipline, and something that might have been sadness. The Marines spread out through the docking area. They moved in teams of 4, covering each other, checking corners and doorways. They were clearly prepared for a fight, but they were not looking for one. A group of civilians huddled near the cargo entrance. They were traders and workers, species from a dozen different worlds. They had been trapped here when the battle started, unable to escape. The human Marines approached them. Kira tensed, waiting for violence. This was how it always happened. Conquering armies did not spare civilians. They killed or enslaved everyone in their path. But the lead Marine simply held up a hand, palm outward, a gesture of peace. "You are safe," the Marine said. The voice was deep, distorted by the helmet speakers. "We are not here for you. We are looking for prisoners, human prisoners, and any others being held by the Vethric. If you know where they are, please tell us. If not, please stay here until the fighting is over." The civilians stared at the Marines in confusion. One of them, a Corvani trader, spoke up. "The detention center is on level 7. The Vethric keep all their prisoners there." "Thank you." The Marine turned to his team. "Alpha Team, secure this area and protect these civilians. Beta Team, with me." And then they were gone, moving deeper into the station with weapons ready. Kira followed. She knew it was dangerous. She knew she should stay hidden and wait for everything to be over. But she had to see what happened next. She had to know if the humans were truly different, or if they were just another kind of monster. The station was in chaos. The Vethric garrison was trying to organize a defense, but they had been caught by surprise. They had expected the Prometheus to be destroyed long before it reached the station. They had not prepared for a boarding action. Kira moved through the maintenance corridors, staying out of sight. She could hear fighting in the distance, weapons fire, explosions, the screams of the wounded and dying. She reached level 5 and found a ventilation shaft that overlooked a main corridor. Below her, a squad of Vethric soldiers had set up a defensive position. They had barricades, heavy weapons, and a clear line of fire down the corridor. The human Marines came around the corner. The Vethric opened fire. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled the corridor, turning the air itself into a weapon. Any normal soldier would have been cut down in seconds. The humans did not fall. Their armor absorbed the first volley. The front Marines staggered but kept moving. They returned fire with their own weapons, rail guns that sent metal projectiles screaming through the air faster than the eye could see. The barricades exploded. Vethric soldiers fell, wounded or dead. The survivors broke and ran. The Marines did not chase them. Instead, they moved to the fallen Vethric and checked each one. The dead were left where they lay, but the wounded received something Kira had never expected: medical attention. A human Marine knelt beside a wounded Vethric soldier, pulled out a medical kit, and began treating his injuries. The Vethric stared at the human with wide, confused eyes. "Why?" he asked, his voice weak with pain and blood loss. "Because you are wounded," the Marine replied. "You are no longer a threat. Now you are just someone who needs help." The Vethric did not seem to understand. Kira did not understand either. This was not how war worked. This was not how conquerors behaved. She continued to follow the Marines. On level 6, she saw another impossible sight. A group of station workers had been caught in a crossfire between the Vethruk and the humans. They were huddled in a storage room, terrified and crying. The human Marines stopped their advance to help them. They gave the workers emergency medical supplies, food, and water. They showed them the safest route to the docking bays, where shuttles were waiting to evacuate anyone who wanted to leave. They were gentle, patient, kind. One of the workers, a young female of a species Kira did not recognize, grabbed a Marine's arm. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Why are you helping us? We are nothing to you." The Marine looked at her through his helmet visor. "You are people," he said. "That is enough." Kira felt tears forming in her eyes. She had lived on this station for 20 years. She had watched the Vethruk brutalize and murder anyone who defied them. She had seen good people suffer and die for no reason other than the cruelty of their masters. And now these humans, these strange, ugly, violent creatures, were treating everyone, friend and enemy alike, with more compassion than the Vethruk had ever shown. She did not understand it, but she was beginning to hope. The Marines reached level 7. The detention center was heavily guarded. The Vethruk had concentrated their remaining forces here, determined to hold the line. They knew that if the humans reached the prisoners, everything would be lost. The fighting was intense. Kira watched from a distance as the Marines pushed forward, step by bloody step. They took casualties. She saw humans fall, wounded or dead. But the others did not break. They did not retreat. They carried their fallen with them and kept moving. A young Vethruk officer, barely old enough to hold a weapon, found himself alone and surrounded. His squad was dead. His weapons were empty. He pressed himself against a wall and waited for the killing blow. A human Marine approached him. The Marine was huge, easily twice the size of the young officer. His armor was scarred and burned from the fighting. His weapon was aimed directly at the Vethruk's chest. "Please," the young officer said. "Please, make it quick." The Marine lowered his weapon. "Are you injured?" the Marine asked. The Vethruk stared at him. "What?" "I asked if you are injured. Do you need medical attention?" "I know. I am not hurt." "Good." The Marine stepped back. "Then sit down and stay out of the way. We are not here for you." The young officer slid down the wall, his legs unable to hold him. He watched the Marines continue past him, heading for the detention center doors. He was still alive. He did not understand why. The doors were breached. The Marines poured through. Inside, they found the prisoners, 17 humans from the Gentle Passage, men, women, and children. They were dirty, bruised, and terrified. Some had been tortured for information. Others had been starved to weaken them for sale. But they were alive. The lead Marine removed her helmet. Kira recognized the face from the transmission. Rear Admiral Tanaka. She had led the boarding action personally. The Admiral walked to the prisoners and knelt beside them. "I am Admiral Yuki Tanaka of the Terran Navy," she said softly. "We received your distress call. We came as fast as we could. You are safe now. We are taking you home." A young girl, no more than 8 years old, looked up at the Admiral with tear-filled eyes. "The bad men said no one would come for us. They said we were forgotten." Tanaka smiled. It was a sad smile, full of pain and anger and relief. "We never forget our people. Never. Do you understand? No matter where you are, no matter what happens, we will always come for you." The girl threw her arms around the Admiral's neck and cried. Behind the humans, in other cells, the Marines found more prisoners. 60 beings from a dozen different species, captured by the Vethruk over months of raiding, held for ransom or sale or simple cruelty. Admiral Tanaka looked at them and made a decision. "Free them all," she ordered. "Every prisoner on this station, human or not, they are all coming with us." Her officers did not question the order. They simply obeyed. The prisoners were loaded onto shuttles. The wounded were given medical care. The frightened were given comfort. And Kira-sen, watching from the shadows, finally understood. The humans were not here for revenge. They were here for rescue. All of them, not just their own. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. The evacuation took 6 hours. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood on the bridge of the Prometheus. and watched the shuttles move between her battered ship and the station. Each trip brought more survivors. The 17 humans from the Gentle Passage, the 60 alien prisoners from the detention center, and dozens more. Civilians who had been trapped on the station and chose to leave rather than stay under Vethruk. Control. Her ship was dying. She knew it. The Prometheus had taken more damage than any vessel was designed to survive. Half the crew compartments were open to space. The engines were running on emergency power. Life support was failing in 3 sections. But her people were still fighting. Engineers worked through the wreckage, patching systems and keeping the ship alive. Medical teams treated the wounded, both human and alien. Everyone who could still stand was doing something to help. That was what it meant to be human. You did not stop fighting until the job was done. Her executive officer, Commander James Chen, approached with a damage report. Hull integrity at 32%, he said. Main engines are operating at 40% efficiency. We have lost 84 crew members, with another 120 wounded. Weapons systems are mostly offline, but we have rail gun batteries that can still fire if needed. Tanaka nodded. What about the prisoners? All the humans from the Gentle Passage are aboard. The children are being cared for in the medical bay. The alien prisoners are being processed now. We have beings from 14 different species, Admiral. Most of them are confused about why we are helping them. Did you explain? We tried. Some of them do not believe us. They think this is a trick. They think we will enslave them or sell them ourselves, Tanaka sighed. This was the hardest part of her job. Not the fighting, not the dying, the distrust, the fear that came from living in a galaxy where kindness was rare and cruelty was common. Keep trying, she said. Show them. Actions speak louder than words. A communication signal flashed on her console. Someone on the station was trying to reach her. She accepted the transmission. A Miralan female appeared on the screen. Small, with gray skin and large eyes. She looked nervous but determined. Admiral Tanaka, my name is Kira-san. I work in the station's communications center. I have been watching what your people have done. I wanted to speak with you before you leave. Tanaka studied the alien's face. What do you want to say, Kira-san? I wanted to ask why. Kira's voice was soft but steady. I saw your Marines treat wounded enemies. I saw them help civilians from a dozen different species. I saw you order the rescue of prisoners who were not human. Why would you do this? Why would you risk your ship, your crew, your lives, for people who mean nothing to you? It was a fair question. Tanaka had asked it herself many times over the course of her career. Why did humans do what they did? Why did they fight so hard for strangers? May I tell you a story, Kira-san? Yes, Admiral. Tanaka leaned back in her chair. The bridge was quiet around her. Even her crew had stopped to listen. 200 years ago, humanity discovered that we were not alone in the universe. We thought it would be wonderful. We thought we would find friends among the stars. Instead, we found empires like the Vethruk Dominion, species that conquered and killed and enslaved, a galaxy where the strong took whatever they wanted and the weak suffered. She paused, remembering the histories she had studied as a young officer. Many humans wanted to close our borders, to build walls around our worlds and hide from the galaxy. But others said no. They said that if we did nothing, we would become just like the empires we feared. We would lose what made us human. And what is that? Kira asked. Compassion. Tanaka smiled softly. The ability to see a stranger suffering and want to help, even if it is dangerous, even if it costs us something, even if that stranger is different from us in every possible way. She gestured toward the view screen, where the station hung in space. The people of this station are not human. Most of them do not know us. Some of them fear us. But they were being hurt. They were being held captive and sold like property. And when we saw that, we could not look away. We had to do something. Kira was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. In all my years on this station, no one has ever helped us. The Vethruk ruled through fear. Other species either submitted to them or fled. No one fought for us. No one cared whether we lived or died. We care, Tanaka said simply. Why? We have nothing to offer you. We cannot help you in return. We are just small, powerless people trying to survive. Tanaka thought about the question. It deserved an honest answer, because that is who we choose to be. We could be conquerors. We have the ships, the weapons, the numbers. We could build an empire to rival the Vethruk, but we do not want that. We want to be the species that helps, the species that protects, the species that stands up for others when no one else will. She met Kira's eyes through the screen. We do not ask for payment. We do not ask for loyalty. We only ask that you remember what happened here. And maybe, someday, when you see someone else in need, you will help them too. Kira stared at her. Tears were forming in the Miralan's large eyes. I have never met anyone like you, Admiral. There are billions of us, Kira. Billions of humans who believe the same things I believe, who would do the same things I have done. Tanaka paused. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We fail sometimes. But we keep trying. We keep hoping that the galaxy can be better than it is. The communication was interrupted by an alert from the sensor station. Admiral, her tactical officer called out. 3 Vethruk warships just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. They are moving toward us at high speed. Tanaka turned to the tactical display. 3 destroyers. Reinforcements from the inner territories. They must have been called when the battle began. The Prometheus was in no condition to fight. They had barely survived the first engagement. Against 3 fresh destroyers, they would be destroyed. How long until they reach weapons range? She asked. 45 minutes, Admiral, 45 minutes. Not enough time to repair the ship. Not enough time to run. They would have to fight or surrender. Surrender was not an option. She knew what the Vethruk would do to her crew and the people they had rescued. Death would be a mercy compared to Vethruk prisons. All hands, battle stations, she ordered. Power up whatever weapons we have left. If they want this ship, they will have to earn it. On the screen, Kira's face was still visible. The Miralan looked terrified. Admiral, you cannot fight them. Your ship is crippled. You will be destroyed. Probably, Tanaka agreed. But we will not surrender. And we will not leave these people behind. But you will die. Then we die. Tanaka's voice was calm, steady, without fear. But we die protecting people who needed our help. We die being who we chose to be. There are worse ways to end. Kira shook her head, unable to understand. How can you be so calm? How can you face death without fear? Tanaka smiled. It was a tired smile, full of sorrow and acceptance. I am afraid, Kira. All humans are afraid of death. But we learned a long time ago that there are things worth dying for. Things more important than our own lives. She looked around the bridge at her crew, who were working without panic or despair. These people trust me to lead them. Those prisoners trust us to save them. I will not betray that trust. Even if it kills me, the communication ended. Kira's face disappeared from the screen. Tanaka turned to her crew. You heard the report. We have 3 enemy ships coming, and we are barely holding together. Anyone who wants to evacuate to the station can do so. No one will think less of you. No one moved. No one even looked up from their stations. Commander Chen spoke for all of them. We go together, Admiral. That is how it has always been. Tanaka nodded. She had expected nothing less. Then let's give them a fight they will never forget. The Prometheus began to turn, bringing its remaining weapons to bear on the approaching enemy. In the distance, the 3 Vethruk destroyers grew larger. The final battle was about to begin. The 3 Vethruk destroyers closed in on the wounded Prometheus. Their captains were confident. They had seen the damage reports. They knew the human ship was barely functional. This would be an easy kill. The lead destroyer captain opened a communication channel. Human vessel, this is Captain Voros of the Vethruk Dominion. You have destroyed our garrison and killed our soldiers. Your ship is broken. Your weapons are failing. Surrender now, and we may show mercy to some of your crew. Admiral Tanaka appeared on his screen. She was standing tall, despite the chaos and damage visible behind her. I decline your offer, Captain. We have rescued our people and many others. We will not hand them back to you. Then you will die. All of you. Perhaps. Tanaka's voice was steady. But you will pay a price for it. We may be damaged, but we are not helpless. Come and find out how much fight we have left. Voros cut the transmission. He ordered his ships to attack. The destroyers accelerated, their weapons powering up. They spread out to approach the Prometheus from multiple angles, making it impossible for the human ship to defend all sides at once. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Tanaka watched the tactical display. She knew the numbers. She knew the odds. They were going to die, but they would take as many of the enemy with them as they could. "Fire when ready," she ordered. The remaining rail gun batteries opened up. Streams of metal projectiles shot through space toward the approaching destroyers. One of them took a hit to its forward section, sparks and debris flying from the impact point. It was wounded but still coming. The destroyers returned fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Prometheus. The ship shuddered under the impacts. More hull sections failed. More alarms screamed warnings. "Hull integrity at 15%, Commander Chen reported. "We are losing atmosphere in multiple sections. Main power is failing." Tanaka gripped her chair. She would not give up. She would fight until the last moment, until the ship broke apart around her. And then something unexpected happened. A new contact appeared on the sensors. Then another. Then a dozen more. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel all around the system. Not Vethruk ships. Smaller vessels. Cargo freighters. Mining ships. Passenger transports. They were civilian ships. Dozens of them. Coming from every direction. "Admiral," the tactical officer said, confusion in his voice. "We are receiving transmissions from the incoming vessels. They say they are here to help. Help. Who are they?" The answer came over the communication system. A familiar voice. "Kira-sen, Admiral Tanaka, this is Kira-sen. I sent out a call to every ship in the nearby systems. I told them what you did. I told them how you fought to save strangers, how you risked everything for people who were not your own." On the tactical display, the civilian ships were moving to position themselves between the Prometheus and the Vethruk destroyers. "We are not warriors," Kira continued. "We have no weapons, but we can shield you. We can block their shots. We can give you time to escape." Tanaka stared at the screen in disbelief. These people, these strangers, were offering to die for her and her crew. "Kira, no. You cannot do this. They will destroy you. Maybe, but you showed us something today, Admiral. You showed us that there are people in this galaxy who still believe in doing what is right, who will risk everything to protect others." Kira's voice was firm, determined. "We cannot let you die. Not after what you did for us." The Vethruk destroyers slowed their approach. Captain Voros was watching the civilian ships with confusion and anger. These vessels were interfering with his attack. They were placing themselves in harm's way. "Civilian vessels, move aside," he broadcast. "You are not part of this conflict. Move aside or you will be destroyed." A response came from the lead civilian ship. It was the elderly Corvani trader, Merchant Telder Solus. "We will not move, Captain. Today we choose a side. Today we stand with the humans." Voros was furious. He could destroy these civilian ships easily, but doing so would take time. It would use resources, and the galaxy was watching. Sensors from a dozen systems were recording everything that happened here. If he slaughtered civilians to reach a crippled enemy, the story would spread. Other species would hear about what the Vethruk did. Other species would learn about what the humans had done, and they might start to ask questions. They might start to wonder if things could be different. Voros made his decision. He was a warrior, not a politician, but he understood that some battles were not worth winning. "All ships, fall back," he ordered. "Return to base." His officers stared at him in shock. "Captain, we can destroy them. All of them. It would take minutes, and we would make martyrs of them. We would prove everything they claim about us. We would show the galaxy that the humans were right." Voros shook his head. "Today, we retreat. Let the High Command decide how to handle this situation." The Vethruk destroyers turned and accelerated away. Within minutes, they had jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. On the bridge of the Prometheus, there was silence. Admiral Tanaka looked at the civilian ships surrounding her vessel. Dozens of them. Traders and miners and travelers. People who had nothing to gain and everything to lose. They had saved her. They had saved her crew. They had saved everyone on the Prometheus. "Kira-san," she said softly into the communication system. "I do not know how to thank you. You do not need to thank me, Admiral. You showed us what was possible. We just followed your example." Tanaka felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not try to hide them. "We need to get these people home," she said. "Our ship is damaged, but we can still travel. Will you escort us to the nearest friendly port?" "We will do more than that, Admiral. We will spread the story of what happened here. We will tell everyone who will listen. The humans came with one ship. They fought an empire to save strangers. And when they were dying, strangers came to save them in return. The civilian ships formed up around the Prometheus. Together, the strange fleet began to move toward the jump point. In the weeks that followed, the story spread across the galaxy. The Vethric Dominion tried to suppress it. They claimed the battle at Nexus 7 was a minor skirmish, a victory for their forces. But the truth was too powerful to hide. One human battleship had destroyed a fleet and rescued prisoners from a dozen species. The humans had shown mercy to their enemies. They had treated strangers with kindness. They had been willing to die for people who were not their own. And when they were wounded and helpless, those strangers had stood between them and death. It was not just a story. It was a message. The galaxy did not have to be ruled by fear. The strong did not have to prey on the weak. There was another way. Other species began to ask questions. They began to wonder if they could be more like the humans. They began to dream of something better. The Prometheus was repaired. Admiral Tanaka received new orders. There were other rescues to be made, other people to save. On her desk was a message from Kira-san. The Moralan had left Nexus 7 and was traveling with a group of other refugees. They were going to human space to see for themselves this strange species that fought for strangers. The message said, "You asked me to remember what happened. I will never forget, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the gift you gave us. Hope." Tanaka read the message and smiled. This was why they fought. This was why they risked everything. Not for conquest or glory or power, for hope. She put down the message and turned to her crew. "Set course for the Outer Rim. There's a colony that needs our help." The Prometheus turned toward the stars. Another mission, another rescue, another chance to show the galaxy what humanity could be. And across 100 worlds, in 100 languages, the warning spread: if you take their people, they will come for you. With one ship or 1,000, through any danger, against any odds, the humans will come, and nothing will stop them.